Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. I, 44 female, have an expensive tiara that has been in my family for generations. I have 3 sons, 16, 12 and 8. And since I don't have a daughter to pass it down to, I decided to give it to my niece, 22 female, a few months ago. It was an emotional moment for both of us, and my niece was thrilled. Her wedding was upcoming, so she incorporated it into her wedding and matched her wedding dress to the tiara. My husband and I were invited to the wedding, which was held the past weekend. We were told it was a child-free event. Since our kids couldn't come, we made arrangements for them to stay at home. However, when we arrived at the wedding yesterday, I was surprised to see the number of children and teens there. My niece's sister-in-law had her 3 kids. Someone else had a toddler, and there were quite a few teenagers, including my niece's other cousin, 17 female. Even her mother's neighbor's sister-in-law had her child with her. I was so irritated that my niece had allowed these kids at her wedding while telling us it was child-free, which meant our sons couldn't attend. So, my husband and I decided to leave immediately after the reception and skipped the after party. It didn't go unnoticed. Later that night, my sister, niece's mom, texted me to ask me why we left so early. I explained that I was upset about the kids being there when we were told it was a child-free event. She got angry and said that who her daughter invites to her wedding is none of my business, that she's an adult who makes her own decisions, and that I need to get over it because the world doesn't revolve around my kids. I told her that in that case I was taking back the tiara. It is still willed to me and we never got around to transferring the legal ownership to her. Now, my sister is furious and says I'm an ass and that I'm being petty and vindictive. Other family members have also chimed in saying that I'm overreacting and that my niece doesn't deserve this. I don't know. I feel pretty slighted, and it's not like I owe her an heirloom anyways. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Yes, I know I could have kept the tiara to potentially give it to a future granddaughter, which was what I wanted to do anyway, but I felt pressured into giving it to my niece. My sister has always been good at getting me to cave. I've always been the black sheep of the family and always am expected to compromise to keep the peace. Update. First of all, thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Here's the update. I got a call from my niece yesterday after she returned from her honeymoon. She was crying and asking why I was doing this to her. She explained that she had to allow her sister-in-law's kids because it was a sister-in-law, and that the other child was from her best friend who had no one else to watch a toddler. She also mentioned that the neighbor's sister-in-law was a single mom who couldn't leave her child behind, and that teens aren't really kids in the same way. I then asked her if that was the case, why she didn't invite my oldest son, 16, to the wedding. There was silence on her end. After a pause, she said that I was being manipulative and that just because I gifted her the tiara, it didn't give me the right to dictate her wedding or hold it over her head. I told her that I wasn't trying to manipulate her, but I felt slighted and hurt by how things were handled. I explained that if she didn't want my sons at her wedding, she should have just been upfront about it, instead of saying it was child-free and then allowing other kids and teens to attend. I told her that I would like the tiara back intact within the week. That's when her husband got on the phone and said some not so nice things to me, and said that I was being unfair and that I was ruining their wedding memories over something petty. I ended up hanging up because the conversation wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't want to say something I might regret. Now I'm feeling conflicted. On one hand, I still feel hurt by the situation and believe I have the right to take back the tiara, especially since it was never legally transferred to her. On the other hand, I never realized that my niece might not have liked my kids as much as I thought. But maybe I should have seen the signs. She's always been more introverted and not very expressive, so maybe there was something there that I missed. You're not the a-hole for leaving the wedding early and for requesting that your niece give you back your tiara, OP. It's obvious she doesn't really value you or your kids as much as you thought she did. Because if she did, she could have called you last minute to tell you that it seems her wedding won't be child-free after all because a lot of people close to her didn't have anywhere or anyone to look after their kids. But maybe it slipped her mind and maybe she forgot. The least she could do was come to you and apologize for it. And you do have a point when you asked her about her not inviting your teenage son. It seems she doesn't care so much about your kids. If you feel this warrants getting your tiara back, then get it back. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for letting my brother live with me but not my stepsister? I, 23 female, lived alone until my brother, 18, moved in with me in July for college. He and my stepsister, 18, graduated at the same time. She wanted to live here too, but I said no. My mom was pissed and so was her husband. They said it's unfair to prioritize a relationship with my brother and not my stepsister. I asked my mom why it surprised her when she knows I don't consider my 2 step-siblings just siblings or even really family. What made it worse is my other brother let slip that we have talked about him moving in when he graduates in the summer. My mom is pissed at my brothers too. She told my 18-year-old brother that he could have shared with our stepsister and they would have helped them pay and it wouldn't have left her alone. And he told her he would rather live with me, his sister. Our youngest brother said the same, which really bothered her, and she's giving him a hard time. But she's extra pissed with me about it. She told me I'm an a-hole. I told her I get to choose who I live with and who I let live with me. I genuinely want to know if people think I'm an a-hole here for my decision. Am I the a-hole? I was the oldest and expected to include my step-siblings in anything I did with my brothers. So if I wanted to watch a movie with them, the others had to be included. If I wanted to sit and chat with them in my room, well, everyone better be there. And I resented the hell out of it. That made me just not make any effort to bond. My brothers felt the same way. Especially when they were really used to doing fun things with me and getting time with me regularly. And honestly, I just never saw them the same as my brothers. My brothers are my brothers. They're our dad's mini-me's and the kids I was the big sister to their whole lives. They're the kids I got to see be born and the kids I helped. They're the kids I comforted when our dad died. And our relationship is special. More special than I can put into words. So having my mom decide it can no longer be that special relationship because she got married again when I was 13 sucked. And it backfired on her because it only drove the 3 of us to want each other even more. And it made our step-siblings a hassle to be around. As for now, I'm more distant from my mom, so I don't see a point in having a relationship with my step-siblings. I understand where you're coming from, OP, and you're right. You get to decide who you want to live with you. Your mother has no control and shouldn't try to control that. I believe she made a mistake when she tried to force you and your siblings to bond with your step-siblings. This obviously didn't work and it just created a huge rift between you guys. But I believe you're old enough to put yourself in your step-siblings' shoes. How would you feel if you were them? I'm not saying bond with them, but it seriously wouldn't hurt to try. And if you're too old to try, it wouldn't hurt to tell your younger siblings it's okay to try. Now for some comments. I could tell my stepdad to kiss my each time he asks for help with something. But I'm not going to, as he raised me and I care about him and don't want him to struggle. Like he's helped us out in the past. OP, you can choose who you want to live with, but at the same time be an a-hole for being a jerk to your stepsister that you choose to not have a relationship with based on you just not wanting to. Not the a-hole. Your mom may aspire for you to treat her partner's kids as family, but the truth is, the only one who chose to merge families was her. Apparently, the merging didn't go as well as she's hoped. But that is no fault of yours and you are entitled to help your actual siblings as much as you would like, without her butting in and trying to make everyone involved feel like shit. Would it give your mom warm and fuzzies to think you loved your merged family as much as your birth family? Sure. Does that mean you are obligated in any way? Nope. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister her husband, and their kid stay with us because she wants our bed. I, 29 female, live with my husband, 32 male and 29 male. We're not legally married, but we are in every other sense, so we use husband and wife. In a 4-bedroom house, our bedroom contains a super king-sized bed. There are 3 other bedrooms, each with a single bed, 2 for my kids and 1 for my 32 son. My parents' birthdays are within the last week of October, which is a school holiday. My sister will be coming to see them along with her husband and their daughter. And my sister is 6 months pregnant. They live nearly 10 hours away from us, so they only come see us 1 or 2 times a year. A few months ago, probably in May or June, my sister asked if they could stay at our place during the week of Mom and Dad's birthday, as mine and 32's kids will not be with us during this time. 50-50 custody, we said they could stay. They're meant to be coming next week. They've booked time off work and called to tell me. However, on the call I said something about changing the sheets before they get here. And my sister said that she could get her husband to help me change the sheets on the big bed. I asked why we would be changing the sheets on the big bed, and she said she wasn't going to sleep in our dirty sheets. In the initial phone call, we agreed that she, her husband, and her kid would take a single bed each, and I brought this up. And she said that we had said that initially, but she's now pregnant and she needs to share a bed with her husband. I then said that if she and her husband are in our bed and her daughter is in another, then me and my husband only have 2 single beds for 3 adults. And she said that one of my husbands could sleep on the sofa. I laughed at that one and said she's not having our bed. She said I was being unfair and she clearly needed the bed more, and I said, "Keep talking and you can get a hotel." She then tried again and I wished her luck finding a hotel that could have them for a week within her budget. She called me a bitch and I hung up. She has since been calling non-stop, calling me and my husbands to ask me to reconsider, but I'm not answering. My stance, which 29 agrees with, is that she's taking the piss. She's changed the terms of me letting us stay here, and I'm not making someone sleep on the sofa for a week to appease her. Especially as I'm not even in touch with our parents, and they're the main reason she's even coming here. 32, however, feels that it makes sense to give the pregnant woman the bed, and all she did was ask, and has even said that he would sleep on the sofa for that week as he wants me to have this time with my sister. He's also said that he feels I was a little quick to snap, and as he's willing to take the sofa, there should be no issue. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my sister? Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. Great job on holding boundaries and not letting your sister guilt you into that ridiculousness. She doesn't need company in bed just because she's pregnant. You and your husbands are 3 people. Her husband, and fetus are only 2.5 people. And it's your marital bed. And the private bedroom of 3 adults with an unusual domestic setup. Your sister probably just wants the opportunity to snoop. Not the a-hole. Nothing more convincing than being called a bitch by someone who's asking to stay with you. When did she just ask? She changed plans after you discussed it and treated it as a foregone conclusion that she'd get the bed. Then got rude when you said no and has continued to try to wheedle you into it. That falls way outside the scope of just making an inquiry in my book. Not the a-hole, and tell 32 that she did a lot more than just ask. She announced that she and her husband would be staying in your guy's bed. She acted like an entitled bully and got what she deserved. I don't know you, so can't say for certain, but I would bet if she had politely asked if there was any way for them to sleep in the big bed, for a reason beyond I'm pregnant and I wanna, that your response probably would have been different. It's not about someone sleeping on a couch. It's about the way she expected to dictate what would happen in your home.